Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to be talking about something that really, it touches pretty much every industry out there, even if you don't realize it at first. And that is the world of retail.
It's true, and it's changing so rapidly.
It is. And I think even if you're not, running a store or selling things online,
Right.
if you're managing complex supply chains, if you're trying to understand the needs and wants of your stakeholders, or if you're trying to optimize how your business runs, well, the retail world actually has a lot to teach us.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. I mean, when you think about it, the forces that are reshaping the way we buy and sell things, they're impacting all sorts of sectors, from
Yeah.
healthcare to finance to you name it.
Right, exactly. So today we're going deep, taking a deep dive into what's happening in retail. We've got a ton of information, a lot of research, and we're going to pull out the most valuable insights for you, no matter what kind of business or organization you're in.
Sounds good.
To start, can you kind of paint a picture of the big forces at play here? What's the overall landscape for someone making strategic decisions, whether they're in retail or maybe in a parallel industry? What do they need to know?
Well, I think the big story here is that there's this sort of push and pull happening.
Okay.
On the one hand, there's some incredible opportunities opening up because of, new technologies and a much deeper understanding of what makes consumers tick.
Right.
But at the same time, there are some very real challenges that come with a pretty volatile global situation and these rapidly changing expectations that everybody has.
So you got to be nimble. You got to be able to adapt.
Exactly. Agility is key, and a willingness to, really embrace new ways of doing things.
Okay, so let's dig into those opportunities a bit. Where should we be focusing our attention if we're looking for growth, whether it's specifically retail or something related?
One of the most important areas is creating these really unified experiences for people. Think about your own, day-to-day interactions with businesses.
Yeah.
You might start by browsing their website, then maybe you download an app or even visit a physical store.
I do that all the time.
Right. And so the key is that it shouldn't feel like you're dealing with, separate entities. The experience should be seamless no matter how you're interacting with the brand. Harvard Business Review actually found that something like 73% of consumers are already using multiple channels.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, so businesses really need to focus on making that multi-channel experience smooth and consistent because that's what builds loyalty. That's what makes people want to stick around.
So it's not enough to just be on all the platforms. You have to connect them in a way that makes sense for the customer.
Exactly.
Okay, what else? What other growth drivers should we have on our radar?
Well, personalization is huge. And I mean truly personalized experiences powered by artificial intelligence.
AI, of course.
Accenture's data shows that almost 80% of consumers really appreciate it when businesses tailor their interactions to individual needs and preferences.
Which makes sense. I mean, who doesn't like to feel like they're being treated as an individual?
Exactly. But this goes way beyond, just putting someone's name at the top of an email.
Yeah.
We're talking about AI-powered forecasting and predictive analytics that can actually anticipate what people want.
So you're using data to predict what people are going to want before they even know it themselves.
In a way, yes. It's about understanding individual needs at a massive scale.
That's powerful stuff.
It is.
Now, I also know sustainability is becoming more and more important to people. How does that translate into opportunities?
It's a big deal, and it's becoming a real differentiator for businesses. IBM research has shown that around 60% of consumers actually prefer to buy from companies that have environmentally sustainable practices.
Yeah, people are voting with their wallets these days.
Absolutely. And smart businesses are recognizing that sustainability isn't just good for the planet, it's good for business. It can give you a competitive edge, attract new customers, even impact your operational efficiency in the long run.
It's not just a trend, it's a fundamental shift.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about the good stuff, the exciting opportunities. Now, let's flip the coin a bit. What are some of the biggest challenges facing decision makers?
Well, one that keeps coming up, and it's something we've all experienced in recent years, is the volatility in global supply chains. I mean, we've seen how disruptions can just ripple across entire industries.
It's been a wild ride.
It has. And McKinsey & Company found that over 40% of retail executives say this is still a top concern. The cost can be enormous when things go wrong.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've all seen empty shelves, delays, price increases, you name it.
It really highlights the need to build resilience into your operations no matter what business you're in.
Agility, Flexibility, those are must-haves these days. What else is keeping leaders up at night?
Well, consumer expectations are constantly rising. I mean, think about the kind of seamless experience you get online. People have come to expect that everywhere now.
Instant gratification.
Yeah, they want fast delivery, they want personalized interactions, they want transparency, and meeting those demands, well, it makes everything more complex. It requires investment in technology, in infrastructure, and training.
And it's a constant race to keep up because the technology is always evolving.
It is.
I imagine all of this, the supply chain issues, the rising expectations, it's all contributing to higher costs, right?
Absolutely. Operational costs are going up across the board. You've got inflation, wages are increasing, energy prices are volatile. It all adds up.
It puts a real squeeze on margins.
It does.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of businesses are turning to digital transformation as a way to improve efficiency and, try to keep costs under control.
Makes sense. So we've laid out the landscape, the opportunities, the challenges. Now let's talk about solutions. What are some of the strategies and technologies that are proving most effective in this environment?
Well, this is where things get really exciting because we're
Yeah.
seeing some truly powerful tools emerge. One that's having a huge impact is AI-powered enterprise forecasting.
I've heard a lot about that. What's the big deal?
Well, Gartner's research suggests that businesses can potentially reduce their inventory costs by up to 30% and improve their demand prediction accuracy by 20% using these tools.
Wow, those are significant numbers.
They are. Imagine being able to optimize your resources that effectively minimize waste and really get ahead of demand. And it's not just about managing physical inventory. These principles can be applied to all sorts of resources and planning scenarios.
So it's about making smarter decisions, basically.
Exactly. And we're also seeing the rise of these things called business process co-pilots.
Co-pilots, interesting.
Yeah, it's essentially AI-driven automation that can help with tasks across different functions of a business like customer service, logistics, inventory management.
So AI is doing the heavy lifting.
In a way, yes. It's automating those routine tasks and providing intelligent support to human workers.
That frees up people to focus on the more strategic stuff.
Right. And that can significantly improve efficiency and reduce operational costs. And then, of course, there's the whole area of customer insights.
Right, because if you don't know your customer, you can't really serve them effectively.
Absolutely. And today, we have the ability to analyze customer behavior in such detail that businesses can really optimize everything from how they place products on a shelf to how they price things to how they market their offerings.
It's all about understanding what makes people tick.
Exactly. And that kind of deep understanding can translate into much higher conversion rates and stronger customer loyalty.
And of course, we can't forget about sustainability. How does that fit into the solutions picture?
Well, investing in more sustainable practices and building transparent supply chains, it's not just the right thing to do, it's also a smart business strategy.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier. It's good for the planet and good for the bottom line.
Exactly. It strengthens your brand reputation, helps you build trust with customers, and in the long run, it can really contribute to your profitability.
It's a win-win.
It is.
Okay, this has been a lot of information, really helpful stuff, but I'm wondering if you can give us a concrete example of how these solutions are actually being used in the real world. What kind of impact are they having?
Sure, I can share a case study that I think really highlights the power of these technologies. It involves a major U.S. retail department store, a big name you would definitely recognize.
Okay.
They were struggling with high inventory costs and just general inefficiencies. They had a massive product catalog, over 7,000 different products, and their traditional forecasting methods were just not keeping up.
So they were either overstocked or running out of things.
Both, and it was costing them a lot of money.
I can imagine. So what did they do?
They decided to implement a really sophisticated solution using AI. They partnered with a company called Findability Sciences, who developed this NLP-driven predictive AI system for them. It integrated all of their historical sales data with real-time information about what was happening in the market.
Like economic indicators, competitor activity, that sort of thing.
Exactly. And this AI system was able to generate dynamic sales forecasts, weekly, monthly, quarterly, with a really impressive level of accuracy.
And did it work?
Oh, yeah. They saw about a 99% forecasting accuracy for most of their products.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is. And that led to huge reductions in their inventory costs, less waste, and they were able to optimize their sales promotions much more effectively.
So they were saving money and making more money.
Exactly. They became much more responsive to customer demand, and that's a win for everyone.
So this is a retail example, but these principles could apply to so many other industries, right?
Absolutely. The technology is adaptable.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the key takeaways you'd want to leave our listeners with, especially those who are, making decisions in their own organizations?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that the retail sector is going through a period of really rapid transformation, and a lot of that is being driven by technology like AI and advanced analytics. But the lessons learned here, they're applicable to any industry that's dealing with complexity, whether it's managing operations, understanding your audience, or optimizing how you deliver value. The key is to embrace innovation, to be agile, and to really leverage data to make smarter decisions.
So even if you're not in retail, pay attention to what's happening in retail.
Absolutely.
This has been incredibly insightful. I really appreciate you sharing your expertise. Now, for our listeners, I want to leave you with a thought. Considering all that we've talked about today, the power of AI, the need for greater efficiency, I want you to think about your own organization, your own industry. Is there an area where a deeper understanding of predictive analytics, or maybe even AI-driven automation, could unlock a significant advantage, something you haven't fully explored yet? That's something to think about.
Something to ponder, yeah.
Until next time, thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.
Thanks for having me.